All right, everybody, thank you for joining us for our second episode of Butting Heads. Connor Sherman sitting here, and on the other line, I got Kevin Wilson. Kevin, what is up, my man?
Going on? We're back. Episode 2. Ready to rock and roll. We got plenty of stuff for you guys, so let's get the pod going here.
Yeah, a ton of actually good hockey content has come out for us to talk about since our last week, even though I kind of thought, not going to lie to you, kind of thought we'd still be in another series right now. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, I did not see that coming.
Especially after leading through 3 periods, man, through most of 3 periods, most of the game.
Right. Yeah, no, I'd definitely caught me by surprise. I did not expect that. I mean, I thought the series was going to go 7, but I mean, we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and they've been doing a lot of the NHL, the league awards already, and the next 2 up, Kev, are the Norris Trophy, and we have the finalists for John Carlson, Victor Hedman, and Roman Josi, and then we have the Vezina Trophy, who's going to be awarded as well here soon, and that's going to be Connor Hellebuyck, Tuukka Rask, Andrei Vasilevsky, and to start breaking this down, would you have given anybody else the Norris Trophy? Would you have put anybody else in there? I think that I would have went with Carlson, Hedman, and Josi as well.
Yeah, you don't change that. I think you gotta. Those are the top 3 defensemen in the league. They put up crazy numbers for defensemen. I have no problem with it. Obviously, it's a little different. We're talking about MVP, which eventually we'll get to, in another episode because there's so many different guys. But for Norris Trophy, those are the top 3 defenders you go with.
I think in a couple of years we could be making the argument for Quinn Hughes' name to be up here as well.
Quinn Hughes, Cal McCarr, all these young studs.
Yeah, Mikko Heiskanen, he should be up there as well here soon.
Oh yeah, him, Klinberg, we're gonna be looking at a changing of the guard almost. You know what I mean? Like we had in the past the Brent Burns, your Carlsons, Drew Doughty's, and
Drew Doughty.
It's like all these guys are young, like Carlson and Hedman and Josi aren't like rookies or anything, but like to see them starting to break out into the studs that they're supposed to be, which I mean we've seen it's been coming. And to see them all be a finalist this year for the Norris it's awesome.
Yeah, and John Carlson, I mean, let's just start off with him. He's a guy last year that I thought was going to make so much money, and he did when he re-signed with Washington. He loves it there. They just won a Stanley Cup, and he has been unreal for them. He's the quarterback for that power play, defensively, of course. Alex Ovechkin runs that Washington power play. But in 69 games this year, he's got 15 goals, 60 assists for 75 points, and he's a plus 12. I mean, this guy really can move the puck. He can lay down a hit, and he's such a good stay-at-home defenseman as well that he is just the complete, he is a dream defenseman for any NHL coach.
I mean, absolutely. It's the total package. You play, shut down defense. You can, work a power play. You can score points. You can get your goals. So it's, I wouldn't be mad if he won. I personally have my own winner chosen, but it wouldn't make sense if he did win, if you're looking at the numbers. But I think also when I look at a winner, especially for these awards, I look at the team around them. And I thought the Capitals are a pretty talented team. I mean, they had plenty of firepower. But I wouldn't be upset if he had won, if he does win.
Yeah, he's outstanding. He was drafted in the first round, 27th overall, actually, by Washington in 2008. So he hasn't played for anybody else. And right. I wouldn't be surprised, too. But to be a standout defenseman in such a good team like Washington, that Carlson's got it going forward. And he only took 26 penalty minutes this year. I mean, 69 games, 26 penalty minutes.
And perfect.
Six game-winning goals, bro. He had 6 game-winning goals this year as a defenseman.
But do you look at the Capitals and be like, do you think the Capitals would have gotten into the playoffs even without Carlson?
I mean, yeah, I think that's highly possible.
Right. That's just how I view it. I mean, obviously, it's just it's opinionated and everything when it comes to us because obviously we're not National Hockey League writers, but
Well, then I think I know who your pick for the trophy is going to be, the Norris Trophy, because next up we have Victor Hedman, and your last statement makes me believe that you're not voting for Victor either.
I'm voting for Victor. I mean, personally, Victor Hedman is my favorite defenseman to watch. It's just look at all the studs he played, and I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm not taking anything away from Carlson. It's just when I look at things like this, it's like, who did this person play with him? Victor Hedman plays with McDonough. He has all this talent. He's like the quarterback of the power play. He can do everything. He's got so much talent around him and so much talent himself. It's just for me, when I'm looking at an award, the Tampa Bay Lightning have so much firepower, and they could still be a first place team without him. I mean, they were winning when he was hurt. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a stud. He's my favorite defenseman to watch because he can do so much. It's just I'm not picking him as my Norris Trophy winner.
Hey, he's won the Norris. He won the Norris before in 2017-2018 season. He played 66 games this year, 11 goals, 44 assists, total for 55 points. He was a plus 27 though. He is the best defenseman on the best team in the NHL, I would tell you. I think he is an incredible skater. His footwork is amazing, and his ability to keep up with any player in the league. Victor Hedman's one of those defensemen. He can keep up with Nate. You know what I mean? He can keep up with Connor. He can keep up with Sid. He can keep up with, Evgeny Malkin. He honestly, truly is one of the best defensemen in the league. And honestly, I think that Hedman's got my vote this year.
I mean, it's like Carlson. I wouldn't be if any of these guys won, right? I'm not going to be
You're not going to, yeah, right. You're not surprised
that
these guys
any of them is, deserving of winning this award. I'm going to go right into the next guy here, Roman Josi. I just think he deserves it. The way he helped drag this Predators team that was just, not very good at one point, just couldn't find a way to win. The goaltending hasn't been that great. Pecorine definitely an off year for him. But for him to put up the production he did and to drag this team into the playoffs, which, they got bounced pretty quick. But I'm looking at him as my winner, just as an offensive standpoint, a defensive standpoint, a leadership standpoint. He's personally my guy.
Yeah, and Josi actually kept almost a point per game player, dude. 65 points, 69 games played, 16 goals, 49 apples, for 65 points. That's unreal for a defenseman in this age. And a plus 22 he was, too.
Yeah, on a team that was getting, at one point, just absolutely destroyed. They were getting scored on left and right. And for him to have that as a plus minus, that number, it's kind of incredible to think about.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I just, honestly, though, I think Victor Hedman's just the best defenseman in hockey right now. So that's why I have to give him the Norris Trophy. But I could see Roman Josi winning it. If Roman Josi were to win it, again, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised at all. He is absolutely deserving of it, and I wouldn't even blink an eye. I wouldn't even make an argument.
Yeah. Hey, any of these guys winning, I'm happy. I just, Roman Josi's my guy.
Up next for the Vezina, we have Connor Hellebuyck, Tuukka Rask, and Andrei Vasilevsky. Connor Hellebuyck, 31 games this year, 31 wins this year, 21 losses, and 5 overtime losses. But 6 shutouts. His goals allowed average was 2.57, and his save percentage was .922. So not awful.
I mean, I'll just say right now, he's my Vezina winner. I got to say, he was top in virtually every category in the league, whether it was saves, which he finished in first, wins, he finished second, shutouts, he was first, and save percentage, he was tied for 7th. But if you look at the team he played for, Winnipeg was not the best team. They were hurting without Buffalo. They weren't scoring that much. They were in the bottom 17 in the league in scoring. And for him, he played, you just said his record. He played 58 games. That's tied for, the most with Carey Price. and he faced the most shots. And Winnipeg was a completely flawed team. Like, they definitely weren't that great. So if you look at the other two guys, like Vasilevsky, he's got a great defense in front of him. He has, Hedman and McDonough and all these guys. And you look at Boston is just plays, defensive style of hockey. And, with Tuukka, and I'm like I said before, with the defense, I'm not taking anything away from the other two. I just is deserving of this award this year.
Kev, he also leads in shots faced and GPS, which is the goalie point share. So Connor Hellebuyck, again, I think is going to be my favorite as well. You move over to Andrei Vasilevsky. You have to remember a lot of the big saves that this kid has made in this playoff, but obviously Vezina is for the regular season. He had 35 wins this year, 14 losses, 3 OT losses, only 3 shutouts, but you have to think he's probably got the second, third best defense in the league in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why it's just he's not my pick because there's so much talent in front of him. He's just not my guy. But he's an absolute stud, and we're seeing it obviously in the playoffs. He's making some huge saves. We saw it in game Game 2, Tampa won. He had to stop that push from the Islanders in that first period. So he's a stud. He knows how to win. Obviously, he's trying to get his first cup. But not my guy for the Vezina.
He's that missing piece that Tampa's been looking for, Kev. He is that goalie that is going to allow them to get up and over that hump. They had the opportunity to do it when they had Ben Bishop in net, but you've seen him not being able to make it with other teams as well. He went over to LA and then he ended up in Dallas too, which is where he is now. But I just think that Vasilevsky is that missing piece that Tampa Bay has needed for a long time in order to be a complete team and in order to be a serious cup contender. And I think with Las Vegas losing last night, that Tampa is going to be my cup favorite.
Absolutely. Especially with what we're seeing with, we'll get into the whole, Dallas winning that series and the preview for tonight's game and possibly next, couple games with the Tampa and Islanders game. But, yeah, I would say, they have to be the favorite.
Another former Vezina winner in Tuukka Rask, too. He is, again, and you have to think that he's got to be close to first place if he's not first as well. 26 wins, Kev. He only lost 8 games this year in regulation. He had 6 OT losses, but it's just unreal season that Tuukka Rask had yet again. He's again former 2013, 2014 Vezina winner, and I just think that Tuukka's got it going on. Boston really was shown how bad they need him after the playoffs this year, and I just think that he's just a name that I'm not surprised that he's there.
Yeah, he was he's a beast, and it comes down. He made plenty of big saves. He plays on a team that plays, they're obviously a defensive first mentality. If you look at the defense is stacked, and the forwards play, incredible defense. But he's consistent. He's a consistent goalie. He never seems to get rattled too much. Unfortunately, I know from listening to a lot of things, reading a lot of things, he gets a really bad rap in Boston from the fans up there. Mainly because it seems like in the playoffs, him win the big game. It seems like how many game sevens Boston lost, or just recently last year with the St. Louis Blues winning. So playoff wise, maybe not the best goalie, but regular season, if you're looking for a guy that's going to give you consistent play a decent amount of games, because Halak did play a decent amount of games this year in the regular season. Halak was very good too himself. But it did show in the playoffs that, they definitely do need Tuukka, and Halak definitely isn't the answer. That's what Boston thought. Maybe, Boston fans think they're going to trade him and keep Halak, but they should definitely not do that after what we just saw.
No, absolutely. You got to keep Tuukka. And especially, Kev, year after year, Tuukka is in this Vezina conversation, dude. It's just absurd to me why you would want to move a goaltender like that. He won the William Jennings Trophy this year. and he led the league in goals allowed average with 2.12 this year as well. So Tuukka also a very good pick. The only thing I have against him is he is, again, just like Vasilevsky, in front of, a top 2 defense in the National Hockey League.
Absolutely. And not just, like, defensively, but, like, Boston plays such good defense with their forwards that it's nice,
unreal. It's unreal.
You gotta be so happy, So, but like I said, I don't want to, like, when I'm talking about, like, who these guys play, people that play, the players that play in front of them. I don't want to take anything away from the goalies or the defensemen because they're such good players, like they're unbelievable. But in my opinion, it does come down to how good your team was, and Hallenbach played in front of a very flawed, Winnipeg team and dragged them into the playoffs. And the same with Roman Josi. I mean, the Penguins could have fell apart when and the fact that the point production he put up and the leadership skills and it's just in my opinion, Roman Josi's the guy. So, but like I said, I'm not taking anything away from any of these guys. So.
Moving in, we actually got a little bit of Penguins talk here. That make me a little bit happy. Todd Raritan is going to sign as an assistant coach with the Penguins. I think it's a real good move on both ends. He was just let go by the Washington Capitals at the end of the season after an early exit to the playoffs, I would tell you. A real early exit to the playoffs.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Todd Raritan going to the Penguins, I think it proved he's definitely not ready for a head coaching job,
Oh, yeah, I would agree. And it's going to be real good. He'll be real good in Pittsburgh, too, because he was a coach there even before he went to Washington. So he ran their power play before. He's got that core group of guys. He's worked with Sid. He's worked with Gino Letang. You know what I mean? So he's been with all these guys. He knows Patrick Hornquist. And hopefully he'll help the power play. Honestly, truly, he is what the Penguins needed so bad because the Penguins kept 42 for 211 during the regular season, dude. They were good. That's good for 16th in the league. Are you for real? Are you kidding me? 19.9%? No. I just think it's unacceptable, dude. You have Sidney Crosby, you have Evgeny Malkin, you have Chris Letang, you have Jake Gensel, you have Jason Zucker, you have Patrick Hornquist and Brian Rust, and you're going to sit here and tell me that you can't convert more than 19.9% of your power plays? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid signing. He's going to definitely fix the power play. The thing with the Penguins is it's like, and I know it's like tough for you to, it's these guys. I'm not saying like their age is catching up to them, obviously, but like, they only have, I feel like, a couple more years to win another cup before they, they got to blow it up.
Oh, absolutely.
So, bringing in Todd, if it's going to help them with the power play, because like you said, 19% is a fairly low number for that team, especially with all the talent they have. If it's going to help them and help them win another cup, which no offense, I don't want to happen, hey, you might as well do it. He's got the experience. So why not, right? It's a perfect fit.
The Pens are already making cap moves too. They sold Bukestad to Montreal for a pick, and they're talking about moving Matt Murray too. Matt Murray to Edmonton, possibly, is what I've heard and is what I've read. I know they're looking to clear cap space, and they can definitely do that by moving Matt Murray. Tristan Jarry's got to be your number one moving forward anyway. He's shown you over and over again why you need to start Tristan Jarry, and I just think that it was ridiculous that he didn't start against Montreal. He started, 1-2 games against Montreal, and he really should have been the starting goalie for the whole series, and they should have used him more throughout the year. Obviously, I get it. You're paying Matt Murray to be your number one guy. He came into the league 16-17, was unreal in the playoffs to get you them 2 Stanley Cups. But you have to do what's best for the team right now. How am I going to win today? Not how am I going to win yesterday? And honestly, I think it would be a good move for Matt Murray to go to Edmonton because, he's only 26 years old. He's still an unreal goalie. I think that the best maybe has even yet to come for him. And if you can get a good goalie coach with Murray, there's no saying why he can't be a top guy in the league again.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And the Penguins are sitting in a good spot because obviously they have all the talent in the world, and now you can trade a guy that has fallen off a little bit, and you could probably still get someone decent out of it. Obviously the Penguins, I feel like they need defense, right? And
real bad.
There's so many places this guy can go. They can make a trade, with Carolina. They can make a trade with Edmonton, like you said. They can. I mean, Calgary needs a goalie. Like, there's so many places that San Jose, right? Martin Jones obviously isn't working out very well over there. There's just so many good opportunities for the Penguins, and not just like for the Penguins. Like, I think this might be one of the craziest years we see with like goalie movement in general. Because not just Matt Murray, like you got guys like talk about a guy that on a series of unfortunate events, like Ben Bishop, man, like he's starting goalie for Tampa, goes to the Stanley Cup Finals, loses, right? Trade to the Kings, not so great. To the Stars, leads them to the Western Conference Finals last year, and now he's a backup. Like all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
Right.
So he'll probably be a guy that gets moved. I think Jonathan Quick might get moved. You got, if Lundqvist wants to trade his, or waive his no trade, you might see him get moved. There's just
I think that's likely. I honestly think that's likely.
There's just so many, and for not just like the Penguins, obviously the Penguins, Sidney Crosby, beginning Malkin, but like all those teams too that like, the Carolina's already a talented team. So, if you can make a move for a goalie, that might put them over the hump. If the Stars, obviously, they're in the Stanley Cup. You can get a decent player. You can probably go for a forward. They need all the forward help in the world, even though they're in the Stanley Cup Finals.
How much is too much, do you think, though, when trying to move for a goalie like that? Because Matt Murray, or the Penguins are asking a first-round pick for Matt Murray, and I think that's what's holding it up right now between Pittsburgh and Edmonton. And, I mean, what do you give up for a player like that?
I'm giving up probably a defenseman, but like a mid-tier defenseman, only because Matt Murray just has shown, he seems like he's fallen off a little bit, but I mean, he can get it, change the scenery, right? So depending on where he goes, it could be a great fit. Like you said, he gets a great goalie coach, he'll kill it. I wouldn't trade a first-round pick for him personally. I would trade a mid-tier defender or whatever the Penguins are looking for, someone to fill a role. Like, Penguins don't necessarily need like a stud. Like, they just need a guy that's going to sit there, he's going to play solid defense and fill his role. Like, if you can get a couple of role players out of him or just one player, like, for instance, we were talking about before this even started, like a Van Riemsdyk from Carolina who can't even make the starting lineup for the defense. I mean, why don't you pull the trigger on that,
Right. And especially with all these, there's so many free agent goalies right now, Kev. Let me just read you some of them, dude. Braden Holtby, Mackenzie Blackwood, Jacob Markstrom, Corey Crawford, Mike Smith, Matt Murray, who's an RFA, Robin Leonard, Craig Anderson, Linus Olmark, Alexander Georgiev, who I know you're very familiar with. Tristan Jarry's an RFA, but the Penguins, I know they're going to give him a lot of money, and they're going to end up moving or cutting Murray. Tomas Greiss, Brian Elliott, Antoine Khudobin from Dallas. Jimmy Howard is available. Ryan Miller, Malcolm Subban are both available. Louis Domingue, who we saw in Tampa play really well when Vasilevsky was hurt a couple of years ago. Keith Kincaid, who we saw up in New Jersey. And then I saw Antoine Forsberg, who was up there in Carolina's system. And I also saw Callum Booth, who is also in Carolina's system, who was really, really good for the Charlotte Checkers when called upon and needed a couple of years ago. So there are just so many goalies available right now for all of these teams to pick. Who do you think is going to be the most prized goalie out there?
Well, depending on my opinion, probably Markstrom, depending on what Vancouver is going to do, because obviously they got a glimpse of what, and I forget his name. I'm sorry, I forget the backup goalie for Vancouver.
Gotcha.
Lights out those 2 games, right? Those, how many games he started. So I was reading something that Vancouver's going to be careful with Markstrom. But I don't see him actually leaving Vancouver. But I think he'll be the most, talked about. And him and Braden Holtby, I mean.
Thatcher Demko is who you're thinking of.
It's Markstrom, probably Holtby, and then I think we'll see a lot more trades with goalies this offseason because, Dallas is obviously going to want to keep Hudobin. Like, they'll probably look to move Bishop for, forward and vice versa. Like, there's so many – this could be one of the, craziest off seasons we see with trades and people signing. It's not like the best free agent class. But –
And there's a lot of good teams on the verge who have a lot of money, dude.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I agree. I think that moving forward, as soon as the trades are allowed to start, regarding all teams, I think we'll see a lot before next season starts.
And Calgary, they're probably going to trade Gaudreau if they decide to go for a goalie of a
Johnny Hockey.
He's the big rumor I've been seeing with Calgary because people are saying like his body can't handle the playoffs and the style of play he plays, and I'm just like, that is the biggest BS. Like, I mean, Marty St. Louis killed it, and he was this like one of the smallest guys ever to play the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but hey, I mean, if Calgary thinks Johnny Gaudreau needs to go, he's got to go, but he's gonna kill it wherever he goes.
Oh, exactly. I mean, his hands are so smooth. I mean, the kid is so silky. He's unreal. It's just the matter of the fact that I think it's how Calgary uses him. I don't think Calgary uses him, correctly. And they did for a number of years where he was, his point totals were real high. Right. But I just think that the abuse that he has taken in Calgary, I think he would work real well for another team. I think a fresh start would be real good for him. He's a first-line winger, dude. He can rack you up a lot of points. He'll get you a lot of goals, and, he could definitely score on a breakaway. I just think that he needs to play somewhere where it's going to be high tempo and where he's not really relied on to lay the body and throw his body around. I think that's when you'll get your best Johnny Gaudreau.
It would be a perfect fit for.
Let's hear. Oh, yeah. It'll be like he's coming home, too. He was born and raised in New Jersey.
Absolutely. I mean, I did see, like, there's, like the Rangers, Devils, and I want to say possibly even, like, Carolina was, like, possible teams to look out to get him. I mean, the Rangers is definitely possible if they want to decide to move Georgiev, if Lundqvist wants to move, if they make a trade. I mean, I'm taking them in a heartbeat because, their attack would be insane.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Good. And then you add him, it just brings it to another level with the Rangers. But, we'll see. It's also a player you really have to think about before you move him. Like, he's so talented. Like, you can't just move Johnny Gaudreau for, like, a goalie you think, you know what I mean? Right.
Yeah, that is a big move to make. But, I mean, what an outcome it could be, because Johnny Gaudreau, he would end rebuilding for the New York Rangers. And assuming they're going to get Land Freer, I mean, where would you even put him, I guess, at that point?
So where I would put, Gaudreau with the Rangers, you can't go wrong really anywhere you put him, right? Like, they have, Panarin on the left side on that second line with Strome. They have to re-sign Strome. I think you give him 2 years. I mean, he deserves it. He killed it this year, but that also comes with being paired up with the Breadman. But they have a nice connection, you could put him. You can put Johnny Gaudreau anywhere on the Rangers. You can put him on that first line with Zibanejad. You can put him, Zibanejad and Kreider. You can go the second line, go Strome, Gaudreau, and Panarin. You can put him, with Lafreniere. You can put him with Kakko. He's a guy that just fits in anywhere on that, first, obviously he's a, first or second line player. So obviously you wouldn't put him on the third line. You could, but I don't, personally, obviously not. But if I'm the Rangers, I'm going as a second line. I'm going, I'm going to go with Panarin on the left, Strome in the middle, keep those two together, and then have those two build up a relationship with Johnny. That's kind of scary to think about, So because there's so much room. I mean, Mika Zibanejad is such a beast, right? So you don't really have to put him with him. You could if you want. But, I think you keep, if depending on what they do with Booch, too, I think you just keep Kreider, Buch, and
He's got an unreal shot too, Buchnevich.
Yeah, the only thing with him is he's just so inconsistent. He's such a good player, and I wouldn't say he's such a good player. He's a good player. Like when he wants to play, like sometimes you can tell he gets a little lazy. But he's a big dude. Like he's got to start using his body to his advantage, and he's got to start just taking more chances. There's so many times where he's just shoot, So I mean, you could even drop Buch to that second line and put Johnny at that one. That's probably even better because it's almost kind of fun pairing up Kreider with his big body, and then Gaudreau's not that big of a guy on the right-hand side with Mika in the middle. So there's just so much different things you could do, and the amount of speed with Kreider coming down the wing, and then
Mika's been so good too. Mika's been so good since coming over from Ottawa.
Oh, absolutely. So there's so many different things. Like as a Ranger fan, you have to be so excited for what the future's to come. You saw they had flashed this year. They were so good. They could have bumped the Islanders out of the playoffs possibly. And
I thought that's where the season was heading.
Yeah, and obviously COVID, ruined it, and then they got swept by Carolina, whatever. But as a Ranger fan, you have to be so excited for what's to come. Like it finally seems like it's like everything's kind of like swinging in the Rangers' favor, And it's been so long since I've been able to feel like this is it's coming. You know what I mean? Like they in 2 to 3 years have a solid chance to get to the Stanley Cup and win. So we'll see. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. The Johnny Gaudreau trade probably won't even happen because it's just such a good player that you shouldn't move if you're Calgary. But obviously, if you have to, you have to. And obviously, the Rangers with the cap situation they have, I don't see him fitting, with the cap situation. They would obviously have to get rid of Lundqvist, and then Stahl's the other issue too. But I think, I can dream, So, who knows? It's going to be a wild offseason. So also today, the breaking news: Peter Laviolette, Capitals, massive signing for them, I think, especially with the year and the way it just ended for them. 3-year deal. He's the 19th head coach in Washington Capitals history. He's going to make an immediate impact, which I'll get to it, and through this little spiel about Peter Laviolette. He's got a record of 637, 425, and 123. He ranks second among foreign coaches in wins and 16th in NHL history in wins. And we saw what he did with the Preds for so many years. We saw what he did with Philly, and we saw he got that Stanley Cup with Carolina. He seems like he just makes an instant impact wherever he goes. And if you're like a Capital fan, you want to talk about instant impact and a team that's almost kind of like, in a sense, like, the Penguins, like the window is like, it's not there yet where they're going to obviously not be like, getting ready to blow up the team, right? They still have a chance to get to another cup and win. When you want to talk about instant impact, Peter Laviolette's your guy. Like the Capitals have so much talent, and just a chance to get right back into the Stanley Cup next year, with Peter Laviolette behind the bench.
That makes me so mad, and I'm not even a Devils fan. Like, honestly, truly, I'm really not. Obviously,
I'd be upset if I was a Devils fan right now.
But Lindy Ruff, so they go ahead and they sign Pete Laviolette, right? And then you have the Devils who almost 2 months ago signed Lindy Ruff as their head coach. Like, what? I mean, the dude's 150,000 years old.
And his last, Lindy Ruff's last, job was that assistant coach with the Rangers. He was defensive, the defensive guru, and the Rangers defense has been a mess since he's been there. So you want to, it can't be, as a Devil fan, you can't be confident, especially the Devils themselves. And I'm not saying this, I'm a Ranger fan. They're kind of a mess, there isn't a guy you can sit there and be like, this is the guy. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have that guy.
It's just unreal. And Gerard Gallant's still available too, who took Vegas to the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year in there's so many coaches I would have picked before I picked Lindy Ruff in New Jersey.
Absolutely.
I know we're getting a little bit sidetracked here, and I know this isn't something that we really had planned to talk about, but it's just so absurd to me as to why Lindy Ruff was so appealing to you over Pete Laviolette, over somebody like Gerard Gallant. I just don't get it. I don't understand.
Right. I don't know. It just the Devils, they'll do what they'll do. I'm not mad about it as a Ranger fan.
Right.
But, obviously they're there's just better options. Like you said, you have all those coaches, and you want to talk about a team that's almost like feels like they've been stuck in a rebuild for like 2 years now, 3 years now. It just seems like they can't. When was the last time they went to the playoffs against Tampa? 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah.
So it's like they brought in pieces where they thought like the PK Subban one this offseason, like just didn't work out, and like I guess they're going to stick with him because it's going to be hard to move him with the contract and everything. But, like, I don't know. You can't feel very confident as a Devil fan right now.
No, clearly not. But I don't know. Brighter news, dude. Dude, Dallas didn't touch the Clarence Campbell Trophy last night. What do you think about that one?
I mean, that doesn't really matter, right?
Are you superstitious?
Like no one. Like, it's like weird. Like, obviously, a lot of teams they don't touch it, and then obviously they lose or they win. Like, I don't look into that too much. Like, the Rangers did the same thing when they went to the Cup and they lost 4-1 in heartbreaking fashion. Like, so many teams just don't touch it, and then it's like, obviously, it's like, well, that's not the trophy we're going for. But I don't make a big deal out of it. It's a superstition thing, I guess. Obviously, that's not their main goal is to get that far, and even just to win the Western Conference, everyone's goal is to win the Stanley Cup. So obviously, you want to touch that, the Stanley Cup. But COVID restrictions, can you touch the Stanley Cup, all of you? Obviously, can't bring it home. Can't.
I think they do. I mean, I think every dude is going to go through and kiss the cup too.
But like, yeah, I don't make a big deal out of it. It's just superstition. So.
Agreed. Yeah, let's talk about from where Dallas has come from. I mean, they were third place in the Central. They were behind St. Louis, and they were behind Colorado. But if you just think about where they've come from in the last couple of years, it's just truly unbelievable. We talked about it last week too, but let's go ahead and mention that the owner calling out Sagan and calling out Ben, saying that they're not hitting the goal enough. They're not hitting the back of the net. They're not scoring. They're not really doing their job. They're not doing what they're paying them to do, or they're getting paid to do, I should say. And this is the second year in a row where they're making it to the conference final. And even this year, they're making it to the Stanley Cup finals. I mean, they haven't been to the Cup in 20 years. 2000 was the last time that Dallas was in the Stanley Cup. But it's just, to me, unreal they've been so middle of the road and so bad for the last couple of years. And then last year they make the Western Conference final. And then this year they actually end up placing third and making it all the way to the Stanley Cup. What do you got on them, Kev?
They make no sense. That's what I got out of.
That's exactly how I feel.
Like, they just feel like a team of destiny, right? Like, they're not scoring offensively, but, I mean, we did see the last couple of games offensively. Their forwards have started to score. Jamie Benn, the player you just talked about getting called up, scored, a goal in the last 3 games, I believe, right? So he's been stepping it up. Radulov finally got a goal. The defense isn't doing all the work now offensively, and that could, be scary for whoever comes out of the East, which will probably be Tampa. But, weirder things have happened with that. So it's interesting how they got there. I have some little snippets, like, and like they make 0 sense. Like, so basically Dallas was outshot in every game, right? They had 48 fewer shots total than the Vegas Golden Knights, right? This is the 5th time they've come back and won a game after the first period. And also, it's the 6th time after giving up the first goal they've come back and won. This is also like it's like too short of the franchise record, which was actually, it's kind of funny. That was set by the 1999 Stanley Cup team. So it's pretty interesting. Also, this is an interesting stat. You want to talk about a team that just doesn't get shook in a sense, 5-0 in overtime games and 10-1 in 1-goal games this postseason. So you want to talk about a team that doesn't get very nervous, right? So and you want to hear another weird stat in their 21 postseason games this year, they've been outscored 64-62.
Huh.
It makes 0 sense. It makes them the first team to enter the Stanley Cup final with a negative goal differential in the postseason since the 1968 St. Louis Blues. Zero sense, especially in today's hockey, right? Today's hockey is all about scoring offense.
Scoring goals, yeah.
But they're also showing the classic way to do it still works, right? Great goaltending with Hudobin. The defense plays lockdown in one-goal games. The forwards do their job defensively, and they score when they have to score. You know, are they going to win the cup? I don't know. It could be a counter to Tampa Bay, right? You know, Tampa Bay coming in hot, scoring a ton of goals against the Islanders. Who knows, right? It's going to be interesting to see whoever they verse.
Different series. Dallas is full of big bodies too. I mean, I have a couple of things written down. I wanted to point out the play of Tyler Seguin last night. I mean, he was up there and he was taking blocks and he was getting in front of the puck and really stopping it from getting to the goal, and that really helped. And I think that's part of why they are heading to the Stanley Cup, is because even their key players are getting down to block shots. They're making the big hits when they need to. And you have players like Corey Perry who's still going to deliver that big hit. You have, Jamie Alexiak. That dude's an 18-wheeler on skates. Right. So I think that – yeah, exactly, dude. And Dallas is just so big that they'll really come in and they'll wear you down. And their hero last night was actually their goal-scoring leader for the regular season, Denis Gurinov. Never can say his last name right, Kevin. Never do I say his last name. Gurinov. Dude, he had 20 goals in the regular season, but only 9 assists in 64 games, dude. So he went 29 and 29. So he's one of them players that doesn't really get a ton of apples, but, you give him some room and he'll bury it in the back of the net. Bro, he also is the player that scored 4 goals and assists in the last game of the Calgary season. So this guy really knows how to score goals, and when it comes to closing it out, I mean, that's your guy. That's your go-to.
110-mile-an-hour ripper. So their team, honestly, I don't want to say, Tampa's – obviously, I don't want to say Tampa's going to win tonight because I'm, doing those things. But for whoever versus them, man, I honestly think they're a tough team to beat, man. I think if the Islanders somehow come back and win that series, they're going to definitely, I feel like they're a better team than the Islanders. The Lightning, obviously, a different story because the Lightning are a wagon right now. But I think they can play with the Lightning, man. They have the style of play to really, grind them out, play that big style, hit their forwards, be mean, So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it literally makes zero sense on how they got here, right? But, hey, man, it's the postseason, the NHL postseason, crazy things happen. It's a weird sport. Anything can happen.
We stress, dude. We've literally stressed how hard the defense is, getting the scoring going and the points going, and they're led by Heiskanen, dude. The kid's got 17 assists, and he's got 22 points. So he even leads the team in points, and he leads the team in assists. I mean, right now, what more could you ask for from your defense?
You can't ask for anything else because they're not there without the defense's offensive production, And when we're talking about Norris Trophy winners earlier, the Heiskanen is going to be in that category very soon here, maybe within the next 2 years. He's obviously only going to get better. So you can't ask for much more. And another player, they got Klingberg, and another player we're not even talking about on the back end too with Dallas is Lindell is a beast as well. So they got 3 guys that are just locked down guys that can score. And it's just, you see it, you really only see it with we were just the Norris Trophy winners, right? Carlson and Hedman and Josie. They have 3 guys that can do all the things they do. And that's just, it's just, that's how you build for success. You're going to build out of your back end. They're going to have 3 players for probably they'll lock them up for the rest of their careers. I wouldn't move them, right?
You have to. You really do. You have to at that point.
Right? Dallas just really, I mean, it's funny we're saying something they got to obviously build around is they got to get forwards, but they might win the Stanley Cup, not even needing all that offensive power, So
they're getting a lot out of Ryan Hintz too. I mean, ever since he's come into the league and started playing for Dallas, that kid, he can really skate. Another player, I know I've been saying this, but he really can put the hits down, and he is a part of what's really helping wear down, the Stars' opponents. And then right when you're worn down, he's going to put one in the back of the net, or he's going to get an unreal assist. I mean, so he's just another one of those players that isn't getting talked about, but is really helping the Dallas team right now.
Right. And, think about, imagine they had forwards, really, really good forwards. You know how good this team would be with the defense they have? It's scary to think about. Obviously, they're going to probably lock down Hudobin. They'll re-sign him. Give him
Have to. That's your moving goal. That's your starting goalie moving forward.
They'll trade Ben Bishop. They'll probably get a nice piece for Ben Bishop, too. So, I mean, it's only looking up for the Dallas Stars. They're going to be a team, they finished, like you said, third behind the Blues and the Avalanche. I think we're going to be seeing for the next couple of years. It's really just going to be the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars,
exactly.
1 and 2 every year.
That's what it's going to be. I think St. Louis, moving down. St. Louis, leads the division or led the division this year. But I think that they're going to drop. What's that?
They're about to lose Pietrangelo too. So
that dude's going to make so much money in free agency. So much money.
So it's they're a team that shouldn't be there, but they're here. And I'm all for them winning the cup. Like I said, I don't care who wins the cup as long as they're not the Islanders. Make it clear.
For real.
Sorry, I can't do it. So,
moving forward tonight, let's talk about the Islanders. No doubt, I have Tampa Bay winning tonight. Tampa Bay has just been so hot in the last couple of games. They look so good. The Islanders just cannot keep up with them, dude. The Islanders, they just cannot keep up with them.
Right. We saw last game, right? Lightning's top line overpowered the Isles defense for pretty much most of the game, right? So in that aspect, they're completely in trouble because you got no faith in your defense at this point. So what can you do? It's going to be – in order for the Islanders to win tonight, they're going to have to play, in a sense, game plan out the window, just play sloppy hockey, right? Throw everything at the net, just hit these guys as much as possible, right? Just make an ugly game. And I think that's what's been missing out of these, those 3 games they've lost. They haven't really made it ugly. And it's just, you got to make it ugly against Tampa Bay. You got to, really make them, you got to have them take penalties. You got to get in Kucherov's head. You got to, piss them off. You got to piss these guys off. And it just doesn't seem like they're doing that,
working. Yeah, and if they are, it's really not working for them right now. Tampa is just coming so hot. And to be honest with you, Kev, I thought that Boston was going to be – I thought Boston was the best team remaining in the playoffs. I thought that Boston was going to be the best team. They came in, they lost the every game in the qualifiers, and then went ahead and just brutally murdered the Carolina Hurricanes. It was just brutal to watch that series. And then for Tampa to come in and, dude, they made it look easy being Boston, bro. They made it look so easy to beat Boston.
Yeah, that 8-2 game. That was
exactly. I don't think anybody can contain them at this point. I don't think anybody in the league can contain the Tampa Bay Lightning.
It's going to be tough, but, the team we just talked about before, Dallas, definitely has a very good chance of doing it, But, they're just a team. They're a wagon. They just doesn't seem like they can be stopped. The one thing I took out of last game, too, was Braden Point was sidelined for most of that third period. It looks like he had a little injury. From what I was reading today, he should be back tonight, but don't be surprised if he doesn't play, just for rest purposes. Obviously, you don't want to throw him out there. God forbid you lose and he gets hurt. You're losing your top guy for the rest of the postseason. So that's the only key thing I really took out. They're a dominant team, and it's the only way the Islanders can beat them is play an ugly style of game. And basically for the Lightning tonight, key to victory is they can't get complacent, they can't sit back, and they can't let the Islanders dictate play. We did see in Game 4 briefly that if the Isles do have an extended period of time in the Tampa Bay zone, that they will score. So they gotta be they gotta be first. They gotta just play their style of hockey. Just take it to the Islanders, bury them, and win this series. And the other thing that's not looking very good for the Islanders is Casey Zizekas left the bubble with an injury, and that's huge because he solidifies that fourth line, that heavy fourth line. So, it's definitely not looking good for the Islanders.
It was the most scoring fourth line in hockey.
Yeah.
The highest scoring
So
fourth line.
come out. It's going to be a game, too. They're going to come out. They're going to, probably throw the body around. They're going to make it an ugly game. They're going to try to piss everyone off on the Tampa Bay to take penalties. But I just think the Lightning just are so focused right now. All the thing, too, is the Islanders look tired, man. They look tired. They still look beat up from that 7-game series against the Philadelphia Flyers. The Lightning had that week off, maybe a little over a week. So, I as a selfish standpoint, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6, so I wouldn't be upset if they lost tonight, won the next game. But I see them winning tonight. I see them winning 3-2 overtime game. That's my final prediction.
Braden Point leads the Lightning with 25 points. He also leads the team in goals with 9. He's been unreal, and I have him as my Conn Smythe favorite right now with everybody left. There are 3 teams left to win the Stanley Cup, and to be honest with you, if Tampa Bay wins, I have Braden Point as my Conn Smythe.
It'll be Braden Point or Heiskanen, so.
So, dude, it's going to be do or die tonight for the Islanders. You're Barry Trotz. Who do you put in net? Why do you do it?
Thomas Greiss, because, try to jumpstart your team a little bit. Just I don't know. It's such that's the other thing too. It's like it's tough when you have goalies that you don't have a ton of faith in. So I go Greiss only in the fact that maybe it just helps jumpstart the Islanders. It's something new. It's a little fresh. I know he played 1 game and he got lit up, but you can only think he's thinking about that loss and he wants to bounce back tonight. So you might get a big game out of him.
I bet they're hoping right now that I bet they're wishing right now that they had re-signed Robin Lehner. They could have threw him in goal for that for that game today. But I too think Thomas Greiss. I think you have to go playoff experience. Greiss definitely has it. I personally think he's the better of the 2 goalies. That's just the eye test for me here, and I just think that he always comes up with the big save when they need it. But although I am not sure that they can win today, you know what I mean? I'm not sure that they're a good enough team to surpass the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I just can't see them winning.
Yeah, definitely tough game to bet on. Who do you can go full blown, throw all the money on Tampa, or have faith in the Islanders to pull another one out. And I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game. That's all. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be chippy. It's do or die. So I would expect nothing but the best from the Islanders, and then to counter that, Tampa Bay is going to just, be as focused as possible and not get complacent. So it's going to be a good game.
You're going to have to be better offensively, obviously, to beat Tampa too, because it's just so hard to play defense against them. You're not going to beat them defensively. And even when the Islanders won, Tampa still scored 3 goals that game. So it's just so hard to keep Tampa under 2 goals, per game that you really need to rely on your offense. And I know it sounds silly saying that you have to outscore, the Lightning in order to win. Obviously, we all know that's how it works. But you need to be able to keep the Lightning under 2 goals is a better way to say it, because they haven't been able to keep them under 3, and if you can keep them under 3, I think that the Islanders have a real good chance of winning this game, but I just don't think that they'll be able to do it.
No, I don't see it. And, it's you got it. Yeah, you got to keep them at 2 goals. You're not going to score 100 goals on Vasilevsky. So it's a team you can't afford to get into a shootout with, So that's why, they win tonight. It's going to be so interesting whenever in these next couple podcasts when we talk about, the Dallas and possibly Tampa Bay Lightning in this final, their offense versus that defense. It's going to be interesting to dissect and see what happens. So, a little part of me selfishly want Tampa to win tonight just for that aspect, but I'm not gonna just say Tampa's gonna coast through and get in tonight. So I think there's a good chance we could see a game 6 though.
Dominant. I mean, Tampa Bay's just been so dominant. I don't know. I think that we'll definitely be talking about the Stanley Cup Finals by the next time we chat, and by the time that most people hear this. So
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much good, hockey talk coming out. You got this draft, free agency. There's going to be a ton of trades, like little cap space, things, little players that are surprisingly going to be released. Like, it's going to be awesome these next couple of weeks. Like, and it's awesome to think about too, because not only you got there's so much going on right now, sports wise too. Like, it's for us as sports fans, as much as we're hockey fans, like all of this is just awesome right now to take in. Like, everything on Sunday is going to be playing at once. Like, it's going to be awesome. So it's just an exciting time of year. There's one good thing that came out of COVID. All the sports come on at one time. So,
yeah, all right. Well, thanks for listening to the second episode of Butting Heads. You got Connor Sherman on the other end. We have Kevin Wilson, and again, thank you. And by the time we record next, we'll be watching the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right. So everyone have a great night. Hopefully we get some listeners. Send some suggestions in. We're definitely open to suggestions and questions, and maybe we can help answer some questions. So, if you listen, thank you, and we'll see you on the third episode.